Perfect. So yeah, as we were saying, welcome to this webinar, Celebrating Water this Earth Day. My name is Claire Ratcliffe Adams. My pronouns are she, her. I'm an education associate at the Space Science Institute and PI for the We Are Water project. And I'm joined with Dylan and Noah here today, and I'm going to pass it off to them to introduce themselves.
Hey everyone, my name is Dylan Connolly. My pronouns are he and they. I'm an education specialist at the Space Science Institute, and I'm really excited to be sharing some of these great resources out with you today and talk about some cool citizen science that you can be doing to celebrate Earth Day this year.
And hi everyone, my name is Noah Newman. My pronouns are he and him. I am with a citizen science project called the Community Collaborative Rain, Hail, and Snow Network, also called CocoRAS, and I'll tell you more about it in a little bit.
So for our agenda today for the next hour, we're going to start off with an icebreaker, then do a quick overview of the We Are Water project. I see that there are some folks on the webinar who are host libraries. We have some folks on the webinar who are advisors to the project. And then we have all kinds of other folks coming from Illinois, Texas, New Jersey. That's awesome. So the materials we'll be sharing with today are within the lens of the Four Corners region of the United States, but they can be adapted to anywhere in the country. So we are so happy to see folks from all over the US. Next, Dylan is going to share a little bit about Earth Day 2023 and the theme for this year. And then we're going to get into some citizen science projects. So talk a little bit about what citizen science is, how it's a way that you can take action within your library community, and then highlight 2 different projects that you can get involved with. Next, we're going to talk about a social media photo challenge that the We Are Water project conducted to give you some ideas for connecting with your community through the topic of water. Finally, we'll end with a discussion about community partnerships, because to really take action and make a difference in your community, you need everyone involved. So we'll brainstorm some community partnerships there and end with a Q&A. At any time, feel free to comment or ask questions in the chat. And I also want to say we're also joined with our colleague, Beatrice Chavez. She's in the chat. She'll be looking at chat support and dropping a few links in there for your references. So just want to give a shout out to Beatrice in the chat as well. So now I'm going to turn it over to Dylan to lead us through a little icebreaker.
All right, so I thought I would get our brains started thinking about water quality. This is, we're all here for some fun discussions around different kind of water related or citizen science. So one of the projects we're going to be talking about is the Earth Eco Water Challenge, which is all about testing water quality. So I thought maybe we start thinking about what water quality indicator might you describe yourself as today. So we have 4 different ones, and this is also a good excuse to go over some of the definitions of some of this stuff. So which one of these might you feel today? So are you turbidity, which is the relative clarity of water based on particulates or other things in there? So if you're feeling like your turbidity, you might be unclear, maybe scattering light, you're a little scattered from scattering light, full of particulates, or are you perfectly clear and feeling light today? Are you temperature? Are you hot, cold, maybe just chilling at like an average temperature? Are you pH, the relative acidity of water? Maybe you're feeling sharp, caustic, or abrasive today, or maybe you're some perfectly clear neutral water at a 7.0. Are you feeling relatively neutral? Or are you the dissolved oxygen in the water, which can be ready to support others? Aquatic life needs oxygen to survive. Or are you super deep without any dissolved oxygen? Are you feeling dank, cold, and inhospitable today? So go ahead and throw this in the chat. Which one are you feeling like today? Describe, if there's a couple options, which way you're leaning. If you're turbidity, you feeling a little scattered, or you feeling super clear today? We got some just chillins. Jennifer Garden's feeling turbidity. Claire's feeling like dissolved oxygen, ready to support. I like that. Susan's feeling pH neutral. Sandy's feeling like turbidity today. A lot of just chillins, which I'm feeling. Kelly's feeling scattered. I feel that, Kelly. I'm working from home and I've got a guest in town today, so my routine's a little off today, so I am feeling a little scattered myself. Mary Jo's feeling ready to support. Dixie's also feeling scattered, team scattered, representing. Jenny's feeling dank and inhospitable, but with a crying laugh emoji. So I think that might have been a little facetious. Lisa's feeling like dissolved oxygen. Casey's feeling clear and light. Excellent. Well, I hope you all had some fun with that. I really had fun coming up with this, and it's great hearing y'all's answers. Mindy's feeling cold. Closed the library early to a snowstorm, so temperature, you're feeling that for sure. Alicia's feeling scattered. Mary's feeling scattered. All right, well, I feel like a lot of us are feeling scattered. I'm going to take a moment. Let's take a deep breath. All right, we're going to talk about some cool stuff and hopefully feel a lot less scattered at the end of this hour. All right, well, thanks everyone for sharing that. Really appreciate you opening up, and I'm going to turn it back over to Claire to talk a little bit about the We Are Water project.
Excellent. Thanks, Dylan. I think that's a great way to learn about some of these techniques that scientists and citizens can use to test water quality and also make a personal connection. So thanks everyone for participating. So as I mentioned before, this webinar is sponsored by the We Are Water project, and a lot of the materials we're talking about are through this project. So the We Are Water project, it has been a project ongoing since 2020 that consists of a traveling exhibition in the Four Corners region of the southwestern US. If you're not familiar with this part of the world, that is where the corners of Utah, Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico all converge. It's a really unique, beautiful area of the country, but where water is scarce. So this exhibit really highlights how water, while it is scarce, it is still critical and it connects communities. And it really dives into how communities live and survive and adapt with that little amount of water. It also touches on the inequities of water access and good water quality access with different communities within the region. But it is a project really near and dear to all three of our hearts. And really the main point is to share stories and inspire conversations about what water means to communities. So while water has very specific meanings in this part of the world, I know wherever you are, water is important and connects communities. So even if you're not from this region, there's a lot that can be taken away from what we're learning from this project. And this project is supported by the National Science Foundation. And yeah, we're in our final year of it, looking to what we can do to go further with the themes that we're developing out of this project after 2023. Right, so that's We Are Water, that's who we are, that's why we're here today. But we're also here to talk about Earth Day 2023 and what you can do in your library. So I'm going to turn it back over to Dylan to get you all catched up on what's happening this year.
All right. So Earth Day 2023, I'm sure if you're visiting, you have some, for this webinar, you have some familiarity with Earth Day. But if you don't, Earth Day is an international day of recognition from the United Nations, all about recognizing the importance of taking care of the planet that we live on. It's the only one we got, and we got to take care of it. So this is actually, 2023 is going to be the 53rd annual Earth Day, which is really cool. It's been going on for over half a century. And annually, over 1 billion people participate in Earth Day actions in over 190 countries. So by participating in Earth Day activities, you're part of a global movement about conservation and stewardship of our home here on planet Earth. The 2023, every year there's a different theme. In 2023, the theme is Invest in Our Planet. So that's all about taking actions and direct actions to really think about the world we live in and how to best take care of it. And there's a couple of really cool starter things you can do to look over if you're just getting started with Earth Day programming. Both of these are linked in the link bank that Beatrice has been sharing in the chat. We have the earthday.org has put together a fantastic PDF that's an Earth Day action toolkit that's got guidance and information on how to get started doing Earth Day programming, whether or not you're in classroom, informal education, or just as an individual. And so that's a great resource. I highly invite you all to check out. And if you're planning on doing an Earth Day event, you're a librarian joining us who's planning on doing some Earth Day programming for Earth Day 2023, there's a really great way to register your Earth Day event on the earthday.org calendar so that publicity can get out there and you can be included as part of this global network of people taking action on Earth Day. And that link is also in the the link bank that Beatrice just shared into the chat. So yeah, very excited to be sharing some of these resources for you, and I hope y'all are excited as we are about being involved with Earth Day 2023.
All right, so now let's talk about what is citizen science. So there we go. So citizen science, you may have heard this term before. We're really pushing it a lot in libraries these days. And there's all kinds of resources created just specifically for libraries to get involved. But this is a global movement that enables people from all walks of time, anytime, anywhere, to participate in real scientific research by making and sharing observations with scientists. It's a way that people can make an impact on issues they care about. There are all kinds of search engines out there, and we'll be sharing 2 of them with you today. But you can really customize your citizen science project to what matters in your community. So, you know, if water quality is something that is very important for your community, we're going to share some of those resources. But if you're more interested, you know, you have folks that are really interested in trees or cleaning up environments. There's all kinds of different topics and ways that you can search for things that are really relevant to you. So before we move on and talk about some of those resources, I just wanted to pause for just a moment and recognize that citizen science might not be the best term for everybody's communities. It's part of the infrastructure of the search engines we'll be talking about today. It is part of the lingo in the scientific community. So that term is not going anywhere. But when you are promoting your programs, we had a discussion recently with a group of libraries talking about how, you know, citizen might intimidate or might even make some visitors feel like they're not included in those programs. If you have visitors who are becoming citizens or are not current citizens of the US, you know, again, that term can maybe make them a little bit, again, feel like they're not welcome in that program, which we don't want that to be the case. Citizen science is really a way to just use some tools, gather some data, and share it with scientists and contribute to all kinds of causes that you might be interested in. So we just thought we'd give you a chance to maybe consider alternative terms when you're promoting your programs. Some of the terms that we've come up with are community science or neighborhood data collection, or even crowdsourced science. But taking that citizen piece out might make your promotion of your programs a little more inclusive. So we are going to continue, but feel free to share in the chat if that's something that resonates with you, or if you think of any other alternative terms that might be a little more inclusive to folks within your communities. All right, so the first search engine and app that I want to talk about, and we're not going to get into this very deeply because we have another webinar all about GLOBE, but is the Globe Observer program. So this is an app that you can download on a smartphone, on a tablet, and basically you can choose different topics such as observing clouds, taking mosquito habitat data, land cover data, or tree observations, which is really fun with little kids. And it's so simple to use. It's so user-friendly. They have all kinds of tutorials, but it's really easy. You just use your app and your camera, and you just take pictures of your surrounding, and it automatically goes to scientists studying those topics. So if this is something that interests you, definitely check out observer.globe.gov, learn more about it, download the app. But again, we're not going to get too far into GLOBE today. I do want to invite you to learn more about Globe Observer with us at an Eclipse Citizen Science webinar that we are hosting with folks from GLOBE on May 4th from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Mountain Time. So the link to that is right there. And yeah, definitely we invite you to join us then if you want to learn that during eclipses, because we have 2 eclipses coming up in 2023 and 2024, there's actual data that you can collect that scientists will use, which is really, really cool. So join us for that webinar if you want to learn more about Globe Observer. Yes, on Star Wars Day, May 4th. We are going to be showcasing a project from SciStarter. So SciStarter.org is a globally acclaimed web and mobile site that connects millions of people to thousands of projects, events, and tools. And they have resources specifically designed for libraries at scistarter.org/library, including all kinds of trainings that you can take. But as you can see in this graphic here, it's really easy to find a project. It's a search engine. You can type in a keyword like weather or dog, or you can search by topic through a menu, a drop-down menu. You can adjust the location. If you want to join a project that's going on nearby and you don't want to host it yourself, you can check those out, or you can, just find all kinds of projects. So Dylan is going to talk to you about one of the projects on SciStarter. It's called the Earth Echo Water Challenge as a way to monitor water quality. So I'll turn it back over to Dylan.
Thanks, Claire. So the Earth Echo Water Challenge is one of many, many citizen science projects available on scistarter.org. I highly recommend, if you're interested in science, going to scistarter.org and checking them out. You can look for different projects and you can filter them based on content, age level, level of participation. It's a really, really great resource for getting started with citizen science. So one of the ones that we wanted to feature, as it's related to water and Earth Day, is the Earth Echo Water Challenge. So if you've participated in citizen science at your library before, you may have heard this referred to as the World Water Monitoring Challenge, but is now the Earth Echo Water Challenge. And this is a year-long event, or a multi-month challenge that runs from March 22nd, 2023, which is the UN World Water Day, through December. So there's plenty of time to participate in this challenge. And what this challenge has 3 steps. First, you test the water quality in your local area. Then you share your data online to an international database. And these are the 2 big parts of citizen science, where you are on the ground as a community member, using actual science to gather data and then submitting that data to a big, large global data set that scientists can then analyze to create information about large trends, all sorts of different things. And then the third step is to protect your local watershed by taking action based on what you learn in your testing and sharing. So you test 4 different things, and they happen to be the 4 things that we covered in our icebreaker. You're going to be testing turbidity, or the relative clarity of the water, the temperature of the water, the amount of dissolved oxygen, and the pH level, or the acidity level of that water. Can we go move on to the next slide? And the way that you can do this is that there are classroom testing kits available for this project. So if you happen to have some funding around and wanted to get some of these kits, they are $65.50 USD for each kit. But there is they have annual application every year for donated and sponsored kits. So there is ways to get some kits to your library organization for free through Earth Echo. By the way, the Earth Echo challenge is linked in the link bank that Beatrice has been sharing out. So you can go ahead and follow that link on SciStarter, find out even more about the Earth Echo Water Challenge. So once you go to the Earth Echo website, you'll find that there's other stuff, how to order those kits. There's also action guides about how to get started, how to have these conversations, either classroom or a learning environment around these issues, individual lesson plans that you can use to develop programming, training videos for each piece of the testing equipment, as well as extension resources of how to turn these into further programming, go further with your learners as you're doing this water challenge. It's a really, really cool project. So if we go on to the last slide, if you order this kit or get a sponsored kit, what you'll find is that there's 5 sets of hardware and enough reagents, or the amount of chemicals that you need, to conduct up to 50 rounds of testing for each of these: pH, dissolved oxygen, temperature, and turbidity. So it comes with an instruction booklet in both English and Spanish, great for bilingual learning. They have 5 sample collection jars, pH test tubes, dissolved oxygen vials, and Secchi disc decals. If you aren't familiar with Secchi disc decals, they are how you can measure turbidity in water, and they're the circles with that are divided into 4 panels, alternating white and black. If you've ever seen those in water testing, that's what a Secchi disc is. Temperature strips, the pH reagent tablets, enough for 50 tests, the reagent tablets for the dissolved oxygen, color chart so you can compare your results, as well as 5 mini pencils. And there are step-by-step instructions on how to take all this data once it's gathered and enter it into that global database so that scientists can analyze global water quality from all these different data points that were coming in. So it's a really, really, really cool project, and just one of the many, many projects that are available through SciStarter. So I highly recommend checking this out. And even if you end up just checking this out on SciStarter and it ends up not being for you, poke around SciStarter and see what else might be a good fit for your library. There's tons of stuff around wildlife tracking, around sky observations, cloud observations, all sorts of any type of almost any type of citizen science you can think of is available. There's projects available through SciStarter. So check those out. I hope you participate in the Earth Echo Water Challenge, but if you don't, I hope it's a good window into checking out SciStarter and getting involved in citizen science. And I think we are ready to turn it over to Noah to talk about another fantastic water-based citizen science program, CocoRAS. So take it away, Noah.
Thanks. And just before we do that, we have a great question in the Q&A. Is this project Earth Echo for tap water, groundwater, rivers?
It is for all types of waters, whatever types of water is in your local community. So whether or not you are have rivers, lakes, you're near an ocean, I mean, it's about testing water quality writ large. So if you are nearby a water source, you can participate in the Earth Echo Water Challenge. I also saw somebody asking about asking about the train derailment would change the results. They may. We're still obviously that train derailment in Ohio is a huge ecological deal, and there's going to be scientists are going to be determining what is going on. I would recommend if you are nearby that area, if you're in the Pittsburgh area or the Eastern Ohio area, check with local officials about whether or not it might be good. You need special equipment to go out and do this water testing, but I think participating in that and getting some data is absolutely vital in places like that where these kind of things have happened. So I think that's even more reason to participate in projects like the Earth Echo Water Challenge.
Great, thank you, Dylan. Yeah, great questions, folks. Keep them coming in the chat and the Q&A function. But we are going to move on now to CocoRAS for Noah's presentation.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate being invited to be a guest speaker here today. So yes, I am Noah Newman, and I am the Education and Outreach Coordinator for CocoRAS, which is a funny acronym for the Community Collaborative Rain, Hail, and Snow Network. Maybe in the chat, I'd love it if anyone has heard of us before. I'd love it if you just put a yes or something like that in the chat. Sometimes nobody in the audience has heard of us, and sometimes a few, but it doesn't look like anyone so far. Or there's one or two, so that's great to see. So go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So yes, we can definitely term this as crowdsourcing precipitation data. And if we go to the next slide, we can talk about how CocoRAS started in 1997 based on a flash flood that happened where I'm based in Fort Collins, Colorado. And what we basically determined, and it was something that had long been known, is that it can rain different amounts in short distances. We've all seen it where you're looking out the window and it's raining across the street, but not on you. And in extreme events, it can rain almost a year's worth of rain on one side of town. And in this case, on the other side of town, not nearly as much. So if we go to the next slide, being at that time, at the kind of beginnings of the internet getting popular, it became clear that we had people from all over, from all different ages and backgrounds, that were willing to set up a rain gauge in their backyard or where they work and submit daily observations. And if you go to the next slide, we can see what the rain gauge looks like. And this is what I would call the one and only non-negotiable for the project is that everybody needs to be using the exact same type of rain gauge. And this one has been approved by the National Weather Service. And many people who like to use those like automated ones that you can install on your roof, it's really been determined that those electronic type of gauges perform really poorly when it comes to precipitation. So we want to use this manual gauge. And if you're doing everything that you can for the project, you're basically taking one measurement every single day, preferably in the morning. And oftentimes, especially for me and several of us on the webinar in the West, that might just be zero. But I'll talk about in a second. There are lots of folks that use the data, including drought scientists, who want to know where it did not rain. So if we go to the next slide, the one thing about our network also is that we're basically following the water cycle. And so we're not really getting into other types of weather other than precipitation, rain, snow, and hail. And we do a couple of other things like evapotranspiration and soil moisture, but these are our bread and butter, basically, especially rain. Go ahead to the next slide, please. And so our main focus is to provide, of course, precipitation data. And if you went to our website, you can find the data in either maps or list format. And we actually have more modern versions of maps that Beatrice is going to put in the chat, the chat bank, or I'm sorry, the link bank, that will lead you to our map that you don't even have to be a member of our network, and you can click on the map and it's interactive and you can see where it rained and where it did not rain all over the country. Go ahead to the next slide, please. And that's just more examples of viewing our data kind of on one of our older maps, but the newer map is much more interactive. Go ahead. And this is kind of a nice example. And, you know, we see this almost every day, but what we're doing is we're providing a better picture to the National Weather Service on these rainfall patterns. And that image in the upper right, you can see without using our data, using maybe radar and satellite and a few other main data stations that the National Weather Service has. But on the lower right, you can see when you add our data in, there are places that pop out that turned out received more rain, and other places that may have even received less rain. So it's providing a better picture to the scientists who want to know where it rained and where it did not. Go ahead to the next slide. And so, you know, I mentioned taking measurements every single day. Many of our volunteers actually just report when it rains, and that's fine too. And when you do, your data are used definitely by the National Weather Service and emergency managers for flooding decisions. But if you're someone that wants to report every single day, including zeros, well, now your data become extremely more valuable and are used by climatologists and engineers and the crop industry. So it's extremely valuable and super easy to do, especially if you just get yourself in the habit of checking your gauge and reporting every morning with your cup of coffee. Go ahead to the next slide. So our other focus with the network is to provide educational opportunities. And so for you folks at libraries, I've got a couple of slides. And if you go to the next one, we've got many resources that are free and open to the public. Again, you don't have to be logged in or anything. I normally would have one slide for each of these, but I'll just mention that, you know, for homeschools, there are lesson plans and activities. On our YouTube channel, there are a whole slew of fun and funny animation pieces that are educational about how to measure rain or other things. No matter where you live, your climate is different. And so we've got 50 different state climate summaries that are really neat and have some neat maps and information. If you're a gardener, we've got resources for gardeners. We've hosted over 80 webinars. And then, you know, I'll skip to the bottom. Data. Our data are totally open and free for anyone to use, no matter if you're a professional or just curious. Go ahead to the next slide. And so two projects that Kokoraz has been a part of that are related to libraries. One is called Spotty Rain, and it was really located or in the Oklahoma region, and it was definitely based on becoming a drought monitor. And so one fun thing that you can do, and we've got these resources for libraries, but we can provide this slide later on. On that left, you see there's an app called Zapper. And if you download that app and then you point it at this code that's the yellow arrow is pointing to, using your smartphone camera, it makes it rain, and it's really fun, inside or outside, selfie mode or just normal mode on your smartphone. You'll be seeing a thunderstorm and you'll hear some lightning and thunder, and it's really kind of a fun app. So if you go to the next slide, I can't help but mention what Claire already mentioned, but we're part of this awesome project called We Are Water. And besides the traveling library exhibit that Claire showed earlier, if you go to our website, some of the really nice features in the Learn About Water or the stories, there are some resources for take and make kits and games that you can play, and there's just some really fun resources for everyone. Go ahead to the next slide. And so for you all, libraries, it's really easy to get involved. You know, the rain gauge itself does cost about $40 after shipping, but as libraries, as educational institutions, if you are interested and really want to get involved, we can find a way to get your library a donated rain gauge. So you can get in touch with me after this webinar and I'll be happy to help. It's very easy. You can learn on as you go, and I encourage you to get a rain gauge and spread it along with your community. And then I think we end, because our acronym is so funny, we just like to say we're Cuckoo for Kokoraz, and we'd love to have you guys join us. Or even again, as I mentioned, if you don't join, you're still welcome to go to our website, access the maps, the data, the resources. They are all free.
Great, thank you so much, Noah. And if you wouldn't mind just dropping your email in the chat, so folks can reach out to you if they have questions about obtaining a rain gauge. But yeah, thanks. We are Cuckoo for Kokoraz. All right, so for the next 5-10 minutes or so, I just wanted to share with you how the We Are Water project launched a social media photo contest as a way to really engage community members in water issues in the community, or just celebrating water in such a unique landscape. So the social media photo contest that we ran showcased water in communities, again, in the Four Corners region, but a lot of what we developed is replicable in any area. And I will say the team member who ran this photo contest, who's not joining us today, she is creating a guide, sort of a step-by-step guide of how she ran this photo contest. It's not yet available, but as soon as it is, we will have it on our StarNet webpage. But we're just going to chat through what this photo contest looked like, some of the things that if you want to do this, that you should consider. And there is a link in the link bank that goes to the photo contest page. It is over now. It was a few months ago that we ran this, and it's complete, but you can see all the components of the photo contest in that link. So for our photo contest, we chose to have 5 categories that folks could submit photos to. The categories are communities and life, landscape, wildlife, vegetation, and weather. So we were really looking to see how people would capture those different categories and their connections to water, and how we perceive water, and how these different 5 categories impact the landscape. So the first thing you should consider before launching a photo contest is, what are your requirements? You want to think about formatting, if you want to caption, what to do with multiple entries. And then, of course, be really explicit about the permission to use photos if they're submitted to you. So for us, we said the format needed to be uploaded in the highest resolution in these various file formats. So you want to make sure that it's clear in your instructions so folks know the format to submit. We also chose to have the entries be at least 2,000 pixels on its longest side and no larger than 10 megabytes on the file size. So really think about what works best for you with the tools that you will be using to judge and display these photos. Next, we chose in the caption for folks to include the location, the date, and a brief description. And then we did allow multiple entries per person. The only thing was we required that entrants may submit multiple photos, but we'll need to fill out a separate Google form for each entry. Yeah, and that's the other thing. Think about what submission vehicle will work best for your community. We used Google Forms, but there's all kinds of ways that work. And so find the one that works best for your location and the technology you have. We also made it clear that we had permission to use those photos. So we just put, this is copy and pasted from the photo contest page in the link bank. By submitting a photograph, you agree to use, you agree to the use of your image in the We Are Water website, social media accounts, reports, newsletters, presentations, and other products. Because we wanted to share that we got some really amazing photos and we wanted to share them with our funders, share them with the project team, and share them with you all. Next, think about who can submit. So we basically let folks from all over the world submit, but we did say that current and previous residents of the Four Corners region will be given special consideration in the judging process. And that was part of our form. The Google form did ask where people lived when they were submitting the photo and if they ever were residents of the Four Corners region. We also, you will see there though in the first bullet point, if you have spent time in the Four Corners region, we will accept your submission. It is a place with beautiful national parks, state parks, and so we do get a lot of visitors in the region. So we wanted to also celebrate that this is a place where people from all over the world appreciate. I think it's important too to tell folks how you will be judging the photos, who will be judging. So in our case, the We Are Water team members and partners will judge the photos and select first, second, and third place winners, as well as best water reflection and best visiting photograph. So we had a couple of different categories, and we did include a written prompt. So folks could, in addition to submitting a photo, could submit a poem or a written reflection, and we were judging those as well. We did make it sure that everyone knew that entrance names will not be included in the selection process. So that way, we just wanted to remove any bias that we might have. And if people submitted multiple photos, we didn't want that to hinder them from receiving an award for multiple photos, just because, you know, they may have received one. But basically, we removed the names while we were judging them to remove bias. Here's a little flyer that our team member created to share with folks. So we did have prizes. This is totally optional, of course, and if you don't even want yours to be a competition, it's really up to you, but we did choose to have it be a competition with prizes. So we had awards for first place, second place, and third place of overall. And then we did have a best water reflection award for those entering written responses. And then we did have a best visitor photograph. So while those first, second, and third place, we really were trying to, we did give special consideration to folks currently or who used to be residents of the Four Corners. We wanted to make sure there was one, like a special thing for a visitor for sharing their photos. Make sure that you have your submission link really visible. So making sure that you are promoting that on your social media, your Facebook, your Instagram, your webpage, your Twitter account, whatever social media you use. So we chose to have a QR code. It's really pretty easy these days to just get a QR generator And we also had a link. So multiple ways for people to submit their photos, but all of those, the QR code and the link all sent people to the same Google form to submit their entries. All right, so that was it for the social media photo contest. Like I said, we are in the process of developing a guide for walking you through that, different prompts that you can put, like just copy and paste onto your social media. So keep in touch with us, and we will let you know as soon as that guide is created. So we're in the final discussion of the webinar today. We just want to talk a little bit about community partnerships and how they have really helped the We Are Water project reach our goals and create new goals and just really create this whole experience for libraries in the Four Corners to celebrate water. So some of the reasons why community partnerships are so important. It's really great to co-create learning experiences with the communities that you're trying to reach. So we've been doing that in a variety of ways with the different tribal nations that live in the Four Corners region, with the library communities. I feel like we can always do better at that, but that is something that we could not do without partnerships. So yeah, really making a relevant and meaningful learning experience is possible by connecting with your community. It's also great to bring in guest presenters and facilitators. You can see here in this photo, we had an opening day event in Montrose just a few weeks ago, and the team brought in all kinds of community partners. This is someone from the Shavano Conservation District, but having someone from the community come in and run programs and be a face is really great to connect with your community. We use community partnerships a lot for translation assistance. So we do the We Are Water exhibition is multilingual. So we have text in not only English and Spanish, but also in Navajo, and we have some of the pieces in Ute language as well. So again, having things in the languages of your community is really important. And I would recommend, if you are asking folks to translate your materials, try your best to have funds set aside to pay them for that work as well. But community partnerships can also really help with promotions of programs. So getting the word out, spreading the word. They don't have to take such an active form of coming in person in your library. They can sponsor programs. They can provide food or lunches for events that you're having. And finally, there's ways that they can just enrich the experience. I know when the We Are Water exhibit was in the Navajo Nation Library, they had folks in their community they wanted to reach out to who had raindrop costumes. They just happened to know of this place, and they're like, maybe we'll reach out to them and on opening day have some people dressed up like raindrops. So all kinds of ways to just really take your programs into, that next level of enrichment. So these are just some of the community partners that I want to thank, and just to kind of give you an idea of, if you are in that region, some of the existing connections we have. And if you would like to get in touch with any of these folks, reach out to me. But we partnered with Mountain Studies Institute, Sangre de Cristo, Asequia Association, the Water Education Colorado, Navajo Nation Educators and Elders in Arizona, the Southern Ute Indian Tribe Cultural Preservation Department. We met with some of the Laguna Pueblo community members to design one of the take and make activities that you can find on the We Are Water website. And then other folks within almost every community that you can find. So Girl Scouts, the U.S. Forest Service, conservation districts, which most regions will have a conservation district you can reach out to. And then authors. We have a whole book list and had a book club going for a while. So reaching out to authors, Indigenous authors or Spanish speaking authors, and pulling them into your programs can be really meaningful as well. So I feel like you are public libraries and you already are fantastic at creating partnerships. I saw one of you mention in the chat that you're the only librarian at your library. So I know that you already are the experts in developing partnerships and reaching your communities. So I would love to hear from you. Finding partners is one way to take action. Who can you reach out to in your community, specifically thinking about Earth Day and water topics? We'd love to hear from you. All right, so state park rangers. Absolutely. Yep. Right, some great ideas coming in. I'll read them for those watching the recording. So local colleges and universities, Growers Alliance. Interesting. Flo, thank you. Or food hubs. State Water Commission, our local water company, Global Water. We have worked with various local water organizations, the James River Association. One of our former employees was and is a park ranger. That's an excellent connection. That always helps when you already have that relationship built. Andrea shares, we have a water testing lab that I drop off a sample to once a month. Very cool. I'd love to learn more about that, Andrea, if that's a program you do with visitors or if that's something you do on your own. Very cool. And extension offices with land grant universities. Yeah, Noah, thank you. That's a great suggestion. All right, and Dolores says they also have a water testing lab that one of their students brought samples for a science fair project. Very cool. Yeah, a local pump company. And Lisa says, we are working with the GRA to develop rainwater gardens at all libraries in Richmond, greening Richmond public libraries. That is so cool. I remember years and years ago, I lived in Utah and I was starting a garden up at a Boys and Girls Club. And I learned that it was illegal for us to use rainwater, to collect rainwater. And I was just, it blew my mind. And I guess the reasoning was that water existed to folks downstream of you. I don't know if that's still the case in Utah, but yeah, it was mind-boggling to me at the time. Yes, Andrea, water treatment facilities, getting the full picture of where water goes, how it's treated. Yeah, you learn so much about that whole cycle. That. Awesome. Well, thanks. Yeah, and keep adding your ideas in the chat. I just think it's great to hear the partnerships that you're building and the ideas you have for what you can do, who you can reach out to for Earth Day about celebrating water. All right, I'm going to turn it back over to Dylan. We have a couple of other citizen science webinars coming up. So if this whetted your appetite for more citizen science, I'll let Dylan explain what we have coming up.
All right, so as part of one of our other projects that SSI has been participating in, we are the Solar Eclipse Activities for Libraries project. We are doing programming this year and next year all about the upcoming annular and total solar eclipses in October of this year and April of next year. And so as part of that, we are hosting some virtual trainings all about citizen science in April and May. So these are going to be specifically about ways to get your library involved in some solar science, citizen science projects. We're recruiting a few different citizen science projects, including, as we discussed earlier, Globe Observer, which is a great NASA app and program to participate in citizen science. But we are hosting 4 different one of these, and we are going to be recording these and releasing all of these at the beginning of June, a compilation video of all of these different webinars. But if you want to go ahead and follow that link, which I'll go ahead and throw in the chat, and we'll be adding to the link bank. I'm going to go ahead and throw that chat into that link into the chat for this has links to register for each one of these. There's 100 slots, so it's going to be more of a meeting and group discussion along with the presentation from the solar science projects. But don't worry if the registration has maxed out. Like I said, we will be releasing a recording of those as well. So that's going to be hosted by yours truly. So please register and join me for those. And if you just want to explore some stuff, or you're starting to poke around SciStarter and you're thinking about how to do some citizen science programming at your library. If you're not familiar, StarNet has a fantastic repository of over 500 vetted STEM activities that are ready to go for your library. A lot of them have facilitation guides, all sorts of stuff, and we even have a collection of citizen science related activities. So that link we'll also throw in the chat, and that goes directly to that citizen science STEM activity clearinghouse. collection where you can check out some of those great activities related to citizen science. Casey, I see your question, are all four the same or different? They are going to be different content at each one. So Globe Observer is going to be coming and talking to May 4th. We're reaching out to another science, solar science and Eclipse citizen science project called Eclipse Soundscapes, and hopefully they're going to be able to come and talk. Doug's saying the clearinghouse is incredible. Thanks for that thumbs up, Doug. I'm a big fan of the STEM activity clearinghouse myself. So yeah, there will be each of the content should be different for each of those four citizen science webinars. But even if you can only attend one or none at all, like I said, I will be putting together a compilation video of the content that's unique to each one of those webinars as a video and releasing that to our YouTube page at the beginning of June as well. So yeah, please don't hesitate to join us for that. So we've just got a few minutes left. I thought we might have one more quick discussion. So as we're wrapping up today, we're talking about Earth Day 2023, which is all about investing in our planet, right? We're about taking direct action and making an investment as citizens, as people who live on planet Earth. So I thought if you want to throw this in the chat, what have you done in your community to advocate for clean water or other environmental topics? Or what do you hope to do this coming year to advocate for clean water and a clean environment in your environment or in your community? So feel free to share that in the chat. Is there something that maybe a partnership that has been particularly fruitful? Have you run some programming that that you think has really made an impact in your community about environmental issues? Casey's saying, thanks for joining us, Casey. Anybody? So throw in the chat. What are some things that you have done in your community through your organization, maybe individually, to advocate for clean water and environmental topics?
I just wanted to read out Dolores's comment. This is very cool. They just prepared 2 site starter kits, the pollinators and night sky, and we'll try to get patrons to check them out. So rather than running an active program, having a kit that patrons can go do at home as a family in their neighborhood to participate in citizen science. Very cool.
Citizen science circulation kits are a fantastic idea. So Tina's saying, we worked with Great Lakes Great Responsibility and their pledge to pick up 1 million pieces of trash from our communities and shorelines. Great project. That's fantastic. Susan said they just made a pollinator kit to go with their pollinator garden. Also really great. I want to, Tina's comment about working with Great Lakes Great Responsibility. That's a really good example of, as we were talking about earlier, those community partnerships. It's really important to understand that nobody can do any of this solo. This is all about investing in our environment, is all about collective action. So those community partnerships are key to making sure that these kind of this work, this kind of advocacy goes as far as it can. And it's important to recognize too that community partners might have more expertise and in certain areas than you do at your organization. So those partnerships are a great way to bring in different knowledge sets, skill sets, access to different parts of, different resources, different, literally sometimes in the case of environmental stewardship, literal access to areas where you can do this kind of work. So those community partnerships, like they were just discussing, are really key. Lisa said they're expanding on our rain gardens to provide programs on rain barrels, native plants, stormwater runoff, and other issues affecting the James River watershed. Which is fantastic. And they're also hoping to start a citizen science program. We are part of a composting initiative in the city and compost bins here at the library. That's fantastic. Composting is a really great passive way to get started on some of this environmental issue. And even if you're just making your own composting, it's a really great way to create a cycle where you can create a garden, a greenhouse at your library. Composting is a great way to just get started on some of this stuff. Mary Jo's also using a rain barrel to water the children's garden at the library. Fantastic. Dolores says, we have one day in the spring where all the university students pick up trash and help with other cleanup projects, including cleaning up water sites. That's also really fantastic. Doug says, we hold a monthly master gardener program focused primarily on drought-resistant landscaping due to the water concerns in AZ. Absolutely, especially when we're talking about the Four Corners region, water use, water limitations are a huge issue in California as well, ongoing drought. So those kind of water conservation and information about drought is a really fantastic way of thinking locally, but thinking globally, but acting locally. Sandy said twice each year we have Crowley cleanup where we do just that. My granddaughter especially likes to clean out gutters safely. That's fantastic. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing these ideas, for coming and participating. I know we've had a lot of give us your information in the chat kind of stuff today. So we really appreciate everyone's active participation in today's discussions. And I hope that we've all inspired you to not only take an active part in thinking about Earth Day and conservation, but citizen science and participatory community science writ large. And it's been a joy sharing all this with you. And thank you so much again for sharing all of this information. And Beatrice has grown that link bank one more time in the chat. We're adding a few more links to those after the webinar today. So really invite you to check that out and bookmark it and check out some of the resources we've shared. So thanks so much, everyone.
Yeah, and we'll stick around for just about another couple of minutes if anyone has questions. We did put one question in the Q&A about if the webinar will be posted. So yes, this webinar is recorded. It takes me about 24 to 48 hours just to get the recording up on our YouTube channel and then post it again on our StarNet webinar page. So yes, we will have that up and ready for you to view and share with your colleagues in just about a day or two. All right, and if there are no more questions, just big thank you to Noah for joining us today from CocoRa's. Thank you, Dylan, and have a great day, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.
Have a good one, everyone.